Good Friday afternoon and evening to everybody. How's everybody doing? There's Victor.
Excellent.
You are here, man.
Yes, I am. Last minute.
Yeah, normally we get together and talk for a couple of minutes before, and I'm looking. It's 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Still no Victor, and he shows up about 2:30 left. I went, oh, okay. Which I knew you were,
when you have back-to-back meetings.
and I knew that was happening today, so I wasn't too concerned. And I knew you would tell me if you were going to not make it and make me do this by myself. That's my worst nightmare. With 1 minute left, you send a Slack message. Hey, sorry, I'm not going to be there today.
No, don't worry.
It'll be a really short show. You just won't send me a message.
It will be 5 minutes before, not 1 minute. I'm not
5 minutes.
Disrespectful.
Yeah. Okay. How was your week?
Oh, very busy. Very, 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 very busy.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that after a while. But by the way, this isn't just me and Victor talking. You're here too. Thanks for showing up today. My name's Darren, in case you don't know who we are. My name's Darren. This is Victor. Obviously, I've been saying his name. And we're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. Fridays, we do this DevOps Paradox live thing just because, number one, I don't want to edit anything for the weekend. And number two, I need to step away from the busyness of the job and just have some conversations with my good buddy Victor. And we get to talk about cool stuff that's happened in the past week, or as we'll see this week, a little bit longer than a week ago. But before we get into this, first things first, do you have your drink?
I'll be back.
Oh, great. Okay. So there was one thing. So anyway, Victor is off getting his drink. If you don't have your drink, go get your drink. While we're waiting on that, let me go ahead and see who's in the chat. Oh, there's Vladislav. Hey, Vladislav, good to see you again. And this week on the podcast, it was episode 77. It was doing knock as a service with Excited. Okay, he's back now. I'll bring him back in. There he is. So here, let's get the drinks. You ready? Oh, you have
beer. Yeah.
I have an orange flavored seltzer water instead of grapefruit. My wife has been buying grapefruit, and I was like, "Can you get me something different?" Like, I don't mind grapefruit, but I just need something different.
That's one of the things I like being with you, man, is that together, nobody can say that we don't drink moderately.
Exactly. I take care of flattening the curve, right? I'm the one that flattens the curve. But anyway, on the podcast this week, we talked with Avi and Asif from Excited about knock as a service. If you haven't listened to that episode and you've ever worked in a knock or you've ever slept under the desk while working in a knock, some of these stories will seem very familiar to you. It was a good episode. Hopefully you'll like it. Next week's episode coming up, we'll talk more about it later, but you may find it interesting in small batches. We'll talk more about that later. But let's get to the news. Now, this first news item is a little bit older than last week, and I had missed it, and there had not been chatter about it. And there it goes. SaltStack, and it went away. There we go. SaltStack joined VMware. Now, give me a second, and I will pull it up here because there we go. So this happened at the end of September. We've had Chef go to Progress. We've now had SaltStack go to VMware. Oh, by the way, let's go ahead and explain what's going on today. I forgot about this too. You're having a party of a bunch of 11-year-olds at your house right now?
Yeah, I have a party of a bunch of 11-year-olds who don't want to stop entering the office.
And that's fine. That's just what it is. Your daughter can come in because she has legal release, but no other kids can go on camera. Let's keep this.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's probably some international rules there, but that sounds good enough. But anyway, with SaltStack, so Chef went to Progress. SaltStack is now at VMware. The last of the bigs, in my opinion, is Puppet is still independent. Right? Is there anybody else that would fall into that?
Yeah.
Well, CF Engine. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah, I don't think that anybody would consider CF Engine anymore.
Yeah.
But it's it's a rush. There, everybody's doing basically the same. Everybody's trying to build a full picture, right?
Yep.
And you need either to develop your own capabilities, which AWS, Azure, and who's the third? Google. They already have their mechanisms to create stuff you need, right?
Right.
But if your business is to run on-prem, like VMware and IBM and what's not, then they need those tools. And to be honest, I was surprised that it took so long for VMware to buy something in that area.
Yeah.
That's the same reason why Red Hat bought Ansible, right? Exactly the same reason. It's just that Ansible is not anymore for sale, so you have Salt.
Yep. So congratulations to SaltStack,
And
part of the VMware family, I guess.
For VMware, I guess that means that Hashi was too expensive if they bought Salk.
We're going to get to Hashi in just a minute, but let's get on to the next item. You brought this one up. I thought it was interesting. The NGINX service mesh. Well, I didn't pull the tab up. What is up about this?
So it's to me it's silly, to be honest. It's about NGINX, the company behind NGINX, to make it clear, realizing years later that actually playing inside Kubernetes is important. They were too late with bringing their own ingress, which I think that they call NGINX Ingress Plus or something like that.
Right.
Kind of, they did it recently, and now Service Mesh. My answer to that is too little, too late.
Yeah, I mean, not they, but NGINX is the de facto standard for ingresses, right? Would you say that is true?
No, for
not anymore.
For ingresses, maybe, yes. Probably the most commonly used and will be most commonly used for a while. But the thing is that we're talking about Service Mesh, and that's where Envoy is.
Envoy, correct. But I was saying just from a normal ingress perspective, NGINX itself is true, but Service Mesh Envoy is it. So yeah, I agree with you. This is a little too late. Will people take it? Yes.
Existing customers. That's the game.
Yeah. So it'll be well, go ahead.
To be honest, I didn't try it out kind of hands-on, but I did go through their docs and search for word SMI, and I didn't find it.
Really?
Yeah, and that's to me disappointing. Now, like Istio can get away from not being SMI because they define that area, right? And a few others might get away with it. But if you're a latecomer to the game, then come on, adopt SMI. Then I can at least evaluate you against others and what's not. Like, otherwise, this is pointless to me. Too late.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into HashiConf was this week, and they had quite a few announcements. Let's go with what I consider very interesting. They announced Boundary, which is basically a trust no one credentialing system. Right?
Yep.
In general. And let's see, they had a better way of putting it, but if I can get to trust no one as a security team, I'm going to like that. This is good. So this was the announcement, and here's the project around it. What is your first thoughts on this?
I like the idea that it is based on defining which users you trust instead of, typically companies, they create VPNs and then whitelist, blacklist some IPs. And then if I work from home, they need to put my home address there. And then all those things that prevent people from working effectively, right? So this is potentially good. It's a huge pain point, to be honest. And now with COVID and people working remotely, simplifying and enabling access to the systems from outside offices is a spot on. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't had. It was just announced, so I don't know how well it works or it doesn't. But as idea, good one.
Yeah, good idea.
And it will sell like cookies.
Yep, pretty much. This will be interesting.
So
just watching.
Unlike other products that they have, this is a very enterprise product. This is something that community in general don't have much interest, right? Yeah. This goes directly to enterprise. Maybe it's open source. I'm not sure.
It is open source, so that's interesting. But to me, this is a fast track towards commercial licensing. Yeah. It makes, not that it doesn't make sense for it to be open source. I think it does. Just because of all the edge cases. So if you can get people contributing their standards to how this works, then it could be interesting. Now, Boundary was interesting, but it was this next one that was most interesting, especially in what we do for real life. Waypoint was announced as a build, deploy, release type tool. Did you happen to notice who the product owner was for this?
No.
She's one of our former coworkers.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who is it?
Jen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, Jen, congratulations congratulations on making this happen. This is very cool. Now, I did go through this last night just following their getting started with Jenkins. Just because they had a good step-by-step for it. And I went, okay, let me go do it. It really is as simple as they say it is. Both on the upside and the downside of it being simple. But they've got the simple right. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go next with it. Now, you and I chatted about this ever so slightly because they have said, and in fact, here's the site for this. There's a lot of things that work right out of the box. There's stuff that just isn't there yet. And that's good. Right? You got to get the simple things done first. But the one thing that you brought up, and I really hadn't thought much about it, is you were sort of scratching your head. Why were they using HCL for the syntax?
I know why.
Well,
because that's their syntax.
That's their syntax. But why?
Exactly. Kind of.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's the only beef that I have with it at this point. And it's not a strong beef.
I have another beef, to be honest.
Okay.
What would be, let's brainstorm aloud. What would be why would you use this? It's a useful wrapper around Docker build and Kubernetes apply and whatever is the third one, right?
Heroku was in there. Let's see. So here's all the different, was it the release? Yeah. It feels very Heroku-like to me, at least the Heroku CLI. Right? Yeah. It just, which is fine for a V001. Right? I'm okay with that, but I'm still trying to figure out, and it gives you preview environments, which is sort of cool. But you already have to have the things in place in order to do that, even though I didn't. What was weird is when I went through my test, it just spun up an instance out on Google Cloud Run for me somewhere. It didn't use my credentials because I didn't have any credentials set up.
Probably use G-Cloud authentication.
Probably. So I haven't dug into it deep other than just playing with it. But yeah.
My question is rather, apart from, and that's up to debate, simplifying slightly life for you so that you don't run Docker container image build, right? And similar commands. Right. So apart from slight simplification, it's not really bringing anything earth-shattering or anything really exciting to me. Now, if the problem I have is that I have very high expectations from Hashi. So I expect... so if this was a random open source project done by somebody, I would say, yeah, cool. Why? Yeah, go for it. Why not? It helps me slightly. Why not? but this is Hashi. I expect kind of like earth-shattering, kind of my brain going wild, right? And it's not. It's not really changing the way we work. It's not really creating some new ideas, new principles. Helpful wrapper.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that is interesting is sort of listed here. It's like container, VM, container. So having a single tool, if you're still dealing with multiple deployment types, that could be nice, right? I mean, at least you're not having to.
It's not a single tool. Let's face it. You
No,
cannot just build and deploy. Come on, kind of like
right.
If you're not talking about pop and mom shop somewhere and stuff like that, you cannot do that. So the way how I'm interpreting this is that, okay, so I might take my pipelines in whichever tools I have my pipelines that are building and testing and deploying and doing the stuff that we do,
Right.
and replace some of the steps with this, right? So I might replace Docker image build with Waypoint build
Pack,
or whatever
I think,
the command is.
Pack. I think it was called Pack. Yeah.
Yes, and I might replace Kubecolor apply with whatever the Waypoint command is, and I'm definitely and if I'm deploying stuff through Flux or Argo CD or any of the kind of GitOps-ish tools, then I have actually, I would be crazy to replace them, right? So it is replacing relatively simple commands in relatively simple scenarios with something, with a wrapper. Yeah, it's nice, yeah.
Well,
not much more than that, and it's not simplifying because it's not. If it would be, if it would give me a bit more steps and that I can say waypoint up, and it, for example, runs my unit tests. Doesn't have to do absolutely everything that we do, but it tests that, right?
yeah. And again, much like Boundary, you haven't gotten your hands on this yet, right? You haven't done any real work. Yeah.
No. So it's me inventing stuff.
Yeah. And that's okay because it's less than 3 days old. So, but it's coming from Hashi, right? It's coming from Hashi. So there is an expectation of greatness.
Yes.
But was Vagrant great day one? Was Terraform great day one?
No, but Vagrant, okay, let's face it, Vagrant solved a real issue.
Yes. From
day one, it was a game changer. Terraform, maybe on a first look, you can say, okay, it's a different syntax, same as Chef and Puppet, but it's not, right? Agentless way to run your infrastructure, very different with the way how it stores. It was a real change, right? Maybe not as big change as Ansible. I'm not sure which one came first, but definitely a huge change compared to Chef and Puppet. This is not. And that's not, I sound probably very pessimistic now. It's not that, it's just that I have such high expectation. It's okay if a company releases okay tool and not amazing tool every once in a while. That's okay.
Okay. Now, they did also, let me flip back over here. They did also announce the new beta for 14. And this was like, who cares? Input variables, on by default, blah, 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 blah. But then I got down to here. That was like, why wasn't that the first bullet? They sort of are putting ARM as an, oh, by the way. For somebody that does, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, that does a lot of stuff on Raspberry Pi, I get used to having tools that run on ARM. I don't expect them to run fast, but I do expect them to run. And now that I can get Terraform on and be able to run it on a Pi, okay,
yep.
that changes my workflow a little bit. I don't do real
No,
stuff on the Pi, but
what would be curious to see is, I mean, Pis are great, but it's not really a business thing, right?
no, it's not.
It would be interesting to see how much this can affect, Internet of Things and all the ARM-based stuff floating around in ever increasing numbers.
Well, speaking of ever increasing numbers, we have this new platform coming out called Apple Silicon, that if Hashi hadn't done this, guess what would not run on Apple Silicon? It would have been emulated, but it wouldn't have been native. I think this is part of that too, right? So it's
exactly.
It's I'm if you're producing binaries that are meant to run on straight silicon, I'm not talking Apple Silicon, but just writing on the processor itself, and you're not doing ARM today, you are not going to be long for this world. I don't think. Unless you're making your own hardware too. But so those were the big three from Hashi: Boundary, Waypoint, and the beta for 14. But again, for me, it's what we have up on screen right now is that they're officially supporting ARM.
Very cool.
It's been a very busy week for Hashi. Now, let's talk about this for a second, because I had a phone call about this morning. EKS is now supporting 118. It came out this week.
Mm-hmm.
They also mentioned here, which is good, they also mentioned here that 14 is going to die on December 8th. Not die directly, but you might as well treat it as dead. And then what I did, in fact, I'm going to do this live because I didn't pull this up earlier. If you're running on EKS and you don't know this page, they actually have a release calendar of knowing when things were released, when it was released with EKS, and the rough, like in this case, December 8th for the 14, but you can see that in May, 15 is going to die. In July, 16 is going to die. I was speaking with someone this morning. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to set up our cluster in January and we're going to use 15. I went, well, you can put it in, but it's going to be gone in under 5 months. So if you're running on EKS, you need to bookmark this page and understand these dates. And these should be on your normal workflow calendars.
What's curious is that actually they're going after their promise. I remember a year ago, I spoke with a few people from there, and they said, hey, we need to do this faster. And you can see if you compare the Amazon EKS release 14 to 15, kind of like,
yes,
hey man, kind of what happened? You had what's that, 8 months, 8 months?
9 months, yeah.
And we have Kubernetes releases every 3 months. So kind of the maximum time between releases you can have is actually 3 months. Right?
That would be my opinion.
6 months later, but
yeah.
once you establish that diff between Kubernetes and you, then it needs to be at least 3 months.
Yeah.
And
but it looks to be 6 months here. It looks to be 6 to 7 months. 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, but at least they're keeping their releases within month or 2 months period. So they're catching up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
April, May, June, July. Okay, then 16 to 17 took them longer. And then July to October, that's 3 months. And so on and so forth.
So they're still moving, and they're keeping it. I read, I don't think it was in this document. Maybe it was a different document. They keep it for 14 months. So previously Kubernetes was just 9 months. They've recently gone to 12. But EKS has always gone 14. I don't remember if it was on this page or if it was over here or not. Let's see, was it 14? Nope, not on this one. So if you're looking at moving towards EKS and you're running on 14 today, guess what? You've got less than 2 months. Otherwise, you're going to be moving off of 14 whether you want to or not.
Too much. It's too much. You should shut it down today. come on, 14. It's
No, that's yeah. They're trying to be nice. Okay. Cool tool for the week. Did you see this one? Kubecolor.
No, what is it?
What does it look like?
Oh.
That's all it
Nice.
is. Yeah. So if you're used to using Kubecolor a lot, it'll change from Kubecolor to Kubecolor, or just change your K alias.
Nice.
It's just a colorization. There's an alias for that. So I haven't dug in. I actually haven't installed it yet because I haven't. Actually, I had a cluster up yesterday, so I could have tested it. But it also includes auto completion. I'd forgotten about that too. Where was it? There it was. So anyway,
Whoever needs auto completion, ZSH.
Yep. Let's see. Auto completion feature. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. I figured you would like it. Has color.
Yeah, I think it's very cool.
Okay. So we just got finished talking about all of the Hashi announcements. The other people that have been having announcements come out on a near daily basis this week was Google Cloud Run. I'll put that up there. Let's go to the first one. CPU allocation. It used to be just 1 and 2. Now you can get to 4. Where was the number? I lost it. Oh, yeah. Well, no, where is it? Yep. 1, 2, or 4 vCPUs. The only caveat is if you want to use 4, you got to have 2 gig of RAM. So if you were trying to get 4, if you were trying to do 4 CPUs with 512 meg, why is your app so bad?
I mean, it could be,
It could be.
computer is
Highly.
highly, a lot of some computation, blah, blah. But, okay, it's fair enough.
Yeah. So
But
that
if you
one's
will
good.
actually, you cannot, in all the 3 providers, you cannot have less than that when if you would try to create nodes either.
Right.
You cannot create nodes with 4 CPUs and then half a gig of RAM. I don't think that such a combination exists anywhere.
Right. The second announcement was the lifecycle. And this one was around SIG-term. So now if your app handles SIG-term, you get 10 seconds to do whatever you need to do. And then after 10 seconds, you get a SIG kill. Clean up a database, finish writing out telemetry, whatever it is you want to do. You have 10 seconds. I think out of the 4 that we're going to go through, this is my most favorite one. Because it gives me a chance to do cleanup on my terms.
Yeah.
Not that I'm just shut down. I think 10 seconds is more than enough. I saw some people talking about, well, that's not long enough to do my cleanup. You might be doing too much.
I mean,
Now, you might have to get aggressive.
I guess that's actually 10 seconds if you don't have a mechanism to process SIG-term, right?
No, if you don't have SIG-term handling, it's done. It's gone.
Okay.
It's effectively SIG kill at that point. So they send a SIG term, and 10 seconds later they send a SIG kill. If you're not handling the SIG term, you wouldn't even have seen it anyway. Just like this is, if a container instance does not catch a SIG term, it's immediately shut down.
Okay. Yeah.
So that one's good. I like this one the best. This one's interesting. This one is still beta. It's static outbound IP addresses. Used to be it would come across a dynamic pool. Now, if I've got a whitelist, my access in, now I can do it by IP. This is the analog from a NAT gateway from AWS.
Yeah, that can be very useful.
Yeah. Just operationally, it's good. And the last one is using minimum instances. I don't know. Maybe this might be better than the SIG term. Now you can actually, and this we knew this was coming, we just didn't know when. You can now set a minimum number of instances. So if you leave it at 0, which is the default, you will scale to 0. But now you can set it to 1 or 2 or whatever you want as your minimum.
Basically, they're catching up with what Knative offers. Knative offered this from the very beginning, right? So they're catching up, starting to support one-by-one arguments available there.
Yeah, they're just now bubbling these out, right?
I think that this is very much in line with where I believe that serverless, if we can call that, or container as a service is going really. It's not about simulating functions as a service. It's really about serverless, making it as if servers do not exist for you as a user. If you have applications, you should always have one instance. Why not? Why the heck not?
Yeah, if you don't want to pay the cold start cost, that's fine.
Cold start, or what if the instance goes down, right? It takes time until it's brought back up. I mean, eventually that's a cold start, right? But if there is always one instance running, at least you know that you have that instance to handle the pending requests while the new one is being created to handle additional requests and what's not.
Yeah. And going back to what we saw, was it this week that I saw a chat going on in the Slack group or in the Workspace of, I think it was Zarbus that asked the question of, if I have one, should I have two? Right? Don't just have a 1 minimum. Maybe it's a 2 minimum. I don't know.
I mean, it really depends what's important for you, right? You losing that second might be important, and it often is, right? And running 2 really, but it's a difficult one, because on one hand, if you have very small traffic, if you have small operation, then usually waiting, like the Devs Toolkit series.com, right?
Yep.
Doesn't have much traffic. If somebody starts it now and it's scaled to 0, waiting for a second is not a big deal, or 2, right? Now, if you have a serious business, then you are unlikely to ever go to zero, no matter what you put there, right? And if you go because really nobody wants to use your service overnight, that means that nobody wants to use it overnight.
So why should you be paying for something if it's not being used?
Yeah.
It just depends. Did you lose money or not with it going down? If you lost money, then you probably should have left one running. If you didn't lose money, then you could choose.
It's not really necessarily, it's hard to quantify, losing money. It's not really that you're going to lose a user requests, ignoring now potential bugs and things not working. Requests are cute, right? It's more about, do I lose business because users are waiting for a few seconds before they see the thing? Right. That's the real question. Sometimes that's a big deal. Sometimes it's not.
Well, if you go back to some of the Amazon numbers, it's like I don't remember the numbers, but every millisecond costs so much money, whatever that is, if people are having to wait. So if you don't have that type of business, it probably doesn't make that big of a deal.
But that's the thing of chicken and egg problem, right? If you're talking about that type of business, Amazon, if they would use Cloud Run, which they obviously will not, they can leave it on 0 because their traffic never goes to 0.
Right.
Never.
Exactly. There's always something going. If your site's been around long enough, you've got spiders hitting you all the time anyway. So something's going to stay awake. So those were the announcements on Google Cloud Run. I expect some others to be coming out soon as well. I don't have any information, but based on the list of things that we saw earlier, probably a month ago, 6 weeks ago, there are a few other things like the multi-region. I'm ready for that to show up. That's going to be super cool. I actually think I saw it in the docs, but I didn't dig through it deep enough and see if it was just one of their shadow announcements, but we'll see. A few words on Git. If you've been on Twitter at all this past week, I think I actually saw Carlos put this one up. A gentleman posted that Git is not a success story. Git is a failure with crap user experiences that forces you to learn more about the tool than you're using about getting your work done.
I agree.
Okay. Yes. I've got no problems with that statement. But obviously a lot of people were like, well, you need to learn your tools.
No. Your tools should be easy to use. That's what they should be, right? So I think that the way how Git works is great. I mean,
Yeah.
there are problems, of course, like everything else. But it's true. You just created a new file in your repo, git add, git commit, git push. That's just silly from user perspective.
Yeah.
Now, the truth is that it's not a failure story either, because with all its problems from user perspective, it is light years ahead of, there is no way that I would ever go back to SVN, which was the thing at the time, right?
Yeah. Because it was better than CVS. And CVS was better than RCS. My fear is what's after Git. But
there is not going to be anything after Git anytime soon, because one of the huge differences between Git and what was there before is that the world was not dependent on SVN, right? Look at how many public projects every single person in this industry depends on. They're all in GitHub. They're all in Git.
Yeah.
Even if you would give me something infinitely better, I would still be tied to Git for years to come. That's a dependency we cannot get off easily.
So the link for this and everything else will be down in the description or in the show notes if you're watching on the website on the replay. Take a few minutes. This is a longer post. I think he makes some very convincing arguments, like this one. Git branch, git checkout, rebase. Oh wait, was it merge? Crap, back to clone. Right? I can't tell you how many times I've been down this path. But anyway, it's a good post. I thought it was pretty good. His site hasn't gone down. I haven't checked to see if it's a static site or not. But I imagine he's gotten a lot of, as he said here, folks that agree, those that don't agree, and some are very angry. Look, there's other things to get angry about in this world. Git is not one of them. The only reason you're getting angry is because you didn't have to work with the other ones.
And kind of, you need to show me a better alternative first. Right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I can be as angry as I want to Docker Swarm right now, and I am, because there is Kubernetes. If there wasn't Kubernetes and there wasn't Mesos, I could not ever be angry at Swarm, because I would need to compare it with, running things on as directly as a container, right? Without any scheduler.
Yep.
So it really depends what you compare yourself with. You need to give me a better alternative, and then I can get angry.
But at this point, there are no other alternatives that are worth getting angry about. Are there other alternatives? Yes. There's nothing better right now.
No.
All right. Final little bit of news, sort of staying in the Git world. GitHub announced their new release for GitHub Mobile, which I didn't even know that this existed. But now you have no excuse to not be working 24/7. You should be able to do code reviews and approve pull requests when you're at dinner with your wife and children. There's no reason. That's a joke, by the way. What do you think about this?
I don't imagine
Do you care?
doing and any such tasks from mobile. So I don't know if there is anybody who does it. Power to you.
Yeah. I mean, even watching some of these screens go by, it's like, I can't diff this well, or based on some of the comment threads I've seen before, I would be scrolling for hours, and I still need a 49-inch ultra-wide screen to be able to figure it all out, which I don't have one of those. But hey, if mobile is your thing and you're using GitHub, go do this.
Yeah.
That's no reason not to. So that's the news for the week.
There is a reason, kind of like if it's so simple that you can do it from mobile, then maybe you can just keep reviewing it altogether.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, and depending, maybe it's not full code, but maybe you're doing the GitOps thing right, and you just need to do a code review, and it's just one line of thing, right? That I'm out at dinner, I can't. I'll be home in an hour. It's like I can't wait an hour, and you're the one that has to approve it.
Yeah, but approvals in my head are there precisely because you want to be present. You want to be able to react to something. If I don't need to be able to react, right, then there is no need for me to be actually involved. Right,
correct.
I'm a bottleneck in that case, right? If the world stopped because I need to approve something, and I can do that while having drinks and lunch in a restaurant through my mobile, then I'm a bottleneck.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that you're working at a dysfunctional company that isn't into the 2000s yet. Oh, wait. That's a lot of companies. Right? Oh, yeah, I don't add any value to this meeting, but I have to be here.
Yeah. Why? I'm a funky manager. I'm a modern one, right? I know Git. I'm not a typical manager that needs Excel sheet. I know Git, and I can do it from a mobile. Oh my, this is gonna sell like candy. I'm starting to like it.
Okay. So this week, you didn't have anything this week. You've got two big things coming up next week. You've got, I'm pulling the notes up so I don't forget. You've got EuroClouds on the 19th, and you got a webinar with CDF on the 20th.
Yeah.
Are you doing that one? So I know EuroClouds is recorded. Is CDF live?
CDF is live. Yes. I kind of because and this is a complaint to EuroCloud, right? I wanted to do live session for EuroCloud, to be honest. So that was my intention. I got sick after recording a couple of sessions. I got sick of recording, so I want to do live. I think it's better. And then they say it's okay for you to do live, but you need to make a recording and send it to us just in case. I said, is that what you want? Yes. Here's a recording, then play it. Kind of like if I just had to spend my time recording things and you expect me to do live, then just play the recording and off you go.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like,
I know.
Isn't it silly to expect both?
As a producer, the answer is no. Because if for some reason, because your slot is a hard slot, and if for some reason your internet goes out, we can still play you and still serve our attendees well.
Exactly.
So as a producer, I would want the pre-recorded, and we'd only go into that if we had to.
Yeah, but then why live? What's the difference between pre-recorded, done in one go, kind of like unedited, and live?
There's no difference.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not now even judging which one. I understand fully how sending a recording is useful, but then why should I do it live? I'm gonna watch Netflix while it's happening.
Yes, you should. You've got Netflix up on one screen. You've got the playing of your session on the other screen. You're waiting for it to finish. You're watching the chat, and that's it. And they bring you in live at the end.
Exactly.
That's fine too. Just I wouldn't do both. Vladislav, actually, I want to go back to something Vladislav put in the chat that I missed. Oh dear.
Oh, so yeah, if you can reviewing, yeah, that's read-only mode. That's great. And Vladislav, are you doing it from mobile?
Yeah. Well, I would assume that. I don't know. Yeah, Vladislav, answer that question. Are you doing it from mobile or not?
Because to be honest, I freak out when I have to answer an email with more than one sentence on mobile. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe I'm not cool, and so used to mobiles as kids, but writing more than one sentence is painful for me. It's
this thumb, which is not going to come into focus, but this thumb is fat, and I can't type. Sorry.
It's just faster for me to get off the couch or in a living room and go to the office room and type answer to email than doing it from my phone.
Yeah. So Vladislav answered with iPhone. So
amazing.
Now,
if you can do it, I'm impressed. Kind of like I'm jealous actually.
So the question is, right before you go to bed, are your slippers already off and you're putting your feet under the covers? Or is this when you're starting to think about going to the bedroom? So if it's the latter, you're thinking about going to the bedroom, that's okay. If your feet are going under the covers, dude, don't do that. Okay, let's see what I said. I go through the rate, peeking and changes, swipe left. It's Tinder for development. That's what it is, right? Can you swipe right? What's the swipe left? I accept the commit. And now say, okay, this is where, all right, this is fair enough. Since we're still in October, Hacktoberfest is still going on. This is where a good mobile solution would be for the people that are maintaining open source repositories and they're getting crap PRs right now. It's like, can I swipe left, swipe right? Right? That would be a good way of approving or disapproving a PR. That's the only thing that would make sense from a mobile perspective.
Yeah.
Because you could tell really fast, because that swipe, I don't, because I've been married for 30 years. I don't understand this whole swipe left, swipe right. I don't, my daughter, and she's married too, but she could tell me because she's younger. It's like, I don't know if left was good or right was good. Oh, okay. Thank you. Vladislav's getting this right. So swipe left is done, read. Swipe right is save. Oh, okay. Interesting. That's interesting.
Because I do exactly the same thing with emails. Kind of get email, I cannot spend time on it, but I can decide whether it goes to trash. I mean, trash as if...
Yeah, archive.
Nothing for me to do.
Yeah.
Or kind of remind me in an hour, something like that. When I will be in front of a computer or whatever. So yeah, that's actually a good one.
Yeah.
Actually, now when I think about it, yeah, I get so many emails from different open source projects. This change, this issue, that issue. That's actually very useful. That's a good one. That's a brilliant question. I changed my mind. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah, you weren't wrong. You just changed your mind.
I'm never wrong. I'm just now more right.
You have more data, and you can make a more informed decision. Golly. Okay. So going back to what we were just talking about, because we jumped back. So Europe Clouds recorded CDF. You get to do it fully live. Do you know what you're doing it on? I can't remember the I don't want to say it was Zoom.
Yeah,
but I don't remember.
Be GitHub style of deployments combined with continuous delivery. So
Yeah,
not kind of full life cycle, not focusing on tests and stuff like that, but
Yep.
full life cycle of continuous delivery related to.
Do you want me to just give you what the title is? I have the title. It's Managing Full Application Lifecycle Using GitOps.
There you go.
You're doing some keyword stuffing right there. So,
Oh my! I'm getting better. But it's gonna go. I think it's gonna be. This reminds me. I need to check how long the webinar is. I don't know. Anyway, it will be a few minutes of kind of blah 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 blah, and then right into the terminal live demo. Not really prepared. I'm not prepared. I must confess here. I might be prepared on Monday, or I might have Monday to prepare. Maybe not. Anyway, live demo. That's what is coming. But some really cool stuff. Really, really cool stuff.
Okay. So what's your big plans for the weekend if you're not going to be preparing for your talks? Because one of them is already done, and the other is you can do it in your sleep now.
Weekend is now reserved for two things. First thing is always now, this is a new me, video for Tuesday.
Right.
That's weekend.
What is the video? What is the video about without details?
I don't know.
Oh, you're not even there yet. Okay.
No,
well, you still have.
That's the weekend. That's the weekend.
You have 5 hours left to decide what that is.
Or call Saturday, I don't know, and then work call Sunday.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's weekend, and then the rest of the time, depending on how much the rest is, then catalog. Those are my weekends.
How bad is lockdown in Spain right now? Is it getting worse?
From today, restaurants cannot be open except for deliveries, and this is much worse than it sounds, because this country depends on people going to restaurants. Kind of like that's, it's like that's equivalent of banning arms in Texas. It's the same thing. It's you can deny me anything you want, but not to eat at the restaurant.
Did you ever have restaurants completely shut down early on?
Early on, a few months.
It was, okay. That was horrible. So you're basically back to that level of lockdown again.
Yes, because situation is getting really bad again.
Yeah.
And from what I'm seeing, it's getting from bad to worse everywhere slowly. So we are up for another round of big trouble.
Yep. So wear your mask. Get your flu shot if you're in the part of the world that needs to get a flu shot right now. Do the things. Don't make it political. Just take care of your neighbor, right? Do those things. Just, you might not like wearing the mask. You might feel like it infringes upon you. Heck, I do. But guess what? I wear a mask. It's not that big of a deal. If it bugs me for a little bit, I take it off, dry my face off from where I'm sweating and put it back on. It's just.
But even if you're 100% convinced that there is no point in wearing the mask and then that's all a hoax and whatever, it doesn't matter. If no other reason, because people around you will feel better.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of, even if you think that it's completely waste, kind of, that makes no sense, people around you are going to feel better.
Yeah.
That's I'm not saying I think it's good for practical reasons, but in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, in fact, I was
political now. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, well, I took us there, and that's fine. So let's pull away from that for a minute. So, I don't remember what his title is, but he's sort of like one of the head dev rels at Confluent, that tested positive for it, Tim Berglund, and I saw his stuff on either Instagram or something today, and he opened up a bag of bacon bits, right? So. Pre-processed bacon. He opens it up, sticks his head in there, and went, nope, still can't smell it. He says he can taste salt, but that's it. No other taste. No. So he's. It sounds like he's got the classical taste and smell problem that some people have reported with COVID. So, and this guy's healthy, mid 40s, or maybe late 40s now. He was around somebody just for a couple of minutes that tested positive, and a few days later he tested positive. I think he started seeing symptoms last Wednesday. So what is that? Roughly 10 days ago, 10 days ago. He's been fine, right? Just feels like truck ran over the first few days and no taste and no smell.
I know. It's not a joke. It's
no. It is survivable for some people. For some people, not. Just like the flu. But again, we're going down the politics side of this right now. I'm not going to go any further. Just don't live in fear of it. Figure out how to deal with it. Do you have to get, in your case, guess what? You have to get takeout now. Okay, well, you get takeout.
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
to be honest, I haven't had a moment of fear since COVID started. I'm not afraid of it in any form of way, but I'm fully aware that my behavior might cause trouble to others.
Right.
Because kind of
Wait.
I'm young, I'm healthy, I would survive
Yeah.
most likely, no matter what happens. But there are people who don't.
Right. And for me, my wife is a cancer survivor and a couple of other mitigating factors. It's for her. That's why we just I put up with some of the stuff that I think is silly, but it's not a big deal, and I just deal with it and move on. Wash my hands. What is wrong with washing your hands?
I was actually commenting it's probably over there the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Whichever store you go to, there is at the entrance now that thing for
Sanitizer or whatever. Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, I'm voting for that to stay after COVID. I like it. Why not? Kind of
Especially if you're having to grab a cart or a basket.
Yeah.
It's like I carry gloves with me, and depending on what I'm doing, I may or may not put the gloves on, like the rubber gloves, like hello doctor, those types of gloves. And that's just what we deal with. Boy, this show went in a completely different direction. That's okay.
Not the first time.
It's not the first time. It probably won't be the last time. We promise to never really get political. You may disagree with us on that. That's fine. Look, I'm probably as conservative as most anybody else comes along. Wear the mask. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, and if you don't feel like it, guess what? You can move on. You don't have to be there. That's okay. All right. That's the end of that rant. And that's not even a rant. That's just like, come on, people, please. My wife's really important to me. If you don't do it for you, do it for her. All right. Next week's episode for the podcast. I just finished editing it last night. Holy cow. So I sort of gave a teaser for it at the beginning. We have I think this is our first podcast host that we've had on. His name is Adam Hawkins. Man, I messed up his name again. He's an SRE, day-to-day job SRE. He also is the host of a podcast called Small Batches. We talk about day-to-day life of an SRE and how really an SRE can and should be helping a company. And in a lot of places, SRE is nothing more than a glorified Jira pusher. But we talk more about that next week. And my weekend is editing the podcast after that. Podcast. And I guess at this point, unless anybody has any other questions, Vladislav, you gave Victor enough, let me phrase this correctly, you gave Victor enough information to change his mind that mobile may not be a bad idea. I need to install this anyway. I actually had a paid for Git client. That wasn't bad, but 98% of all the stuff I do is on GitHub, so I might as well take a look at this. I have a couple of repos. Some people that I follow ended up putting some of their repos on GitLab during the scare when GitHub got bought. So I still have a couple of stuff I deal with on both GitLab and Bitbucket. So they don't have this cool stuff. We're talking about earlier on the post right before this, a few things about Git. GitHub, instead of saying git add, git commit, git push, GitHub is open browser, write my stuff, commit changes. Right? That's all next to the level of a Google Doc is about as close as it gets. I would not want to lose. I don't think I would want autosave in a GitHub window.
But
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Git add, commit, push, that's all. I can easily create alias that executes those 3 commands. It's very, very easy. It's not a problem.
But you'd have to know that you had to do those two. That you'd have to do those 3 things.
It should be part of the product.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, everybody.
Complaints to Linus directly.
And Vladislav set us up here. With that said, have a great weekend. Go support local. Go do those things. That'll be the last political stuff for quite a while. If that's as bad as we get political, we're doing really well in this day and age. You're not even laughing. Small grin.
No, it's because it's his picture. It's not live. Or you're referring to me?
No, I was talking about, anyway, never mind. It doesn't matter. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. Everybody go have a great weekend. We will talk to you next week.